All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to day 4 of Bike to Campus Week 2020. My name is Nick Goodfellow. I'm the Sustainability Coordinator at the University of Pittsburgh, and welcome to our virtual tabling session. So we've got folks from Pitt, from Carnegie Mellon, from Bike Pittsburgh, from the Pitt Bike Cave, from Healthy Ride here, and we're here to answer your questions. Whatever questions you have about biking in Pittsburgh, biking on campuses, biking in the region, how to use bike share, we're here to answer them. So we have folks monitoring Facebook comments as well as our Zoom comments. So feel free to type anything in there if you want to ask a question and we'll answer them. So first, let's start with some introductions. I'll start. My name is, as I said, Nick Goodfellow, and I'm a Sustainability Coordinator at the University of Pittsburgh. I support our business and auxiliary services. So that includes parking, transportation, and services, which manage our Pitt biking program, as well as housing, dining, and our university stores. I've been in this position for more than a year, although I've been at Pitt working in sustainability for about 4 years. And I've been biking for more than 5 years. I started when I was a student. So really love Bike to Campus Week and wish there was something similar to that when I started biking, because I made quite a lot of mistakes. So Karen, you want to introduce yourself next?
Sure, my name is Karen Brooks. I'm the bike consultant for Carnegie Mellon University, and I work under the Parking and Transportation Department. I also organize the Bike Advisory Committee, as we call it, which is sort of a subset of Parking and Transportation, and generally do all kinds of bike stuff on campus. I sometimes also work with the Sustainability and Athletics departments.
Great, thank you, Karen. Anna, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, my name is Anna Tang. I am the community organizer at Bike Pittsburgh. Our Bike Pittsburgh is the local nonprofit for the city and surrounding municipalities for advocacy, education, and community outreach. And I got into biking about 5 years ago, like on an everyday kind of level, but I've been biking pretty much my whole life, and I did bike commute in college as well. And I'm just super excited to be here and to talk about bikes, because that's what I like to do.
Awesome, we're glad you're here. Erin, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, I'm Erin Potts. I work for Healthy Ride, the local bike share program. I am the director of marketing and community outreach. And I have been biking for pretty much my whole life. And I got into Healthy Ride 5 years ago, right before we launched in 2015. Right now we have 100 stations around the city of Pittsburgh, I think 17 stations across Oakland specifically. But the program is really designed to pick up a bike at one location and take it to any other location. It's a great way to supplement your trips around the city, and we're really a mission-driven organization. We're a local nonprofit, and we are just here to encourage people to think about taking a bike to accomplish short trips around the city. Some of the resources that we offer include a unlimited 30-minute ride pass for Pitt students. We also have a Connect Card partnership with the Port Authority, where we offer anyone who links a Connect Card to their Healthy Ride account, unlimited 15-minute free trips. And then pricing starts at like $2 per 30 minutes beyond that. So you can check out our pricing and all that good stuff on our website. But we've also been working really hard during this time to encourage people to get out and ride wherever they want to go, even just for a fun trip around the block. And we have a lot of ride ideas up on our website as well. We use an app called Ride Spot. So if you're ever looking for some ride ideas, be sure to check those out.
Great, thanks, Erin. Thanks for joining us today. And Alex, do you want to introduce yourself and tell everybody where you're at right now?
Yeah, so my name is Alex Eckenrode. I work as an attendant at the Pitt Bike Cave. And so I'm currently in the Pitt Bike Cave. We're down here just trying to clean up and fix up some bikes that we can hopefully sell and get other people out riding. Sorry if there's any noise. And then, so the Pitt Bike Cave is a do-it-yourself bike shop. So we have 2 or 3 attendants here that will help you fix your bike, but we won't actually fix your bike for you. We'll give you all the tools, we'll show you what you need to do, and then we'll let you go for it. And if you need any help, you can come and ask us, or just call us over and we'll be willing to help you. Currently, we're doing appointments, so we can only have 2 people in the shop at a time, and you have to sign up for an hour block, which you can find on our Facebook page. And then you'll sign up for an hour block. We'll try to get you in whenever you can, or whenever best suits you, and then we'll help you out for that entire hour. I got into biking when I moved to Pittsburgh 3 years ago or so. I just wanted a way to commute around and get around to see the city without having to drive and without having to deal with traffic. So, really great.
Well, thanks, Alex. Are you selling any bikes at the Pitt Bike Cave?
What's that?
Are you selling any bikes at the Pitt Bike Cave?
Yeah, so we have several bikes for sale now, and we're trying to post them weekly on our Facebook page to see if anybody's interested in them. They're all used bikes, and they're all fixed up well enough that they're safe to ride and perfectly rideable. And then sorry about that. So the bikes that we have are used, they're fixed up so that they're safe to ride and will operate smoothly, but then they're also like fairly beat up, so they're not the best. And so we sell them for fairly cheap, usually between like $40 to $80 possibly if it's got a decent bike. But then we don't have very many, so we only have like 6 that are ready to go now, and probably 5 that we can fix up to be ready to go.
Cool. So how do you find more information about the bikes that are available for sale? Are they on the Facebook?
They'll be posted on the Facebook sporadically. We're throughout the weeks, we're trying to get them, like take pictures of them and post them on Facebook with a slight description of them. And then after they're posted on Facebook, you can message us and come in and take a look at them and ride them around and see if you like them. But then if you also do that and you come in and you see a different bike that you like that's for sale, then you're more than welcome to check that one out as well too and pick between it.
Thanks. So we have a question. Can anybody use the Bike Cave or just Pitt students?
Yeah, the Bike Cave is open to anybody. Anybody who is walking by is able to go on and schedule a time. But if you're walking by, you're probably not going to be able to get in that day. But yeah, any student, any staff, any resident of Pittsburgh, if you want to join and come to the Bike Cave, just go onto our Facebook page and fill out the Google Doc for whichever time slot works best for you.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Bike Cave is one of the great spaces that we have on campus. Like if you're looking at my background, it's right there. It's a 95% student run space. All the students have been trained as bike mechanics. I was wondering, does anybody else have any good recommendations for other bike repair shops or DIY spaces in Pittsburgh?
I was wondering if CMU has anything like the Bike Cave, or should CMU students go use the Bike Cave? I also know that there's Free Ride, which is very similar to the Bike Cave, and it's located, I believe it's technically Homewood. I think that area is technically Homewood in the East End area. And they do pretty much the same thing, which is like you can borrow their tools, you can use There's space to fix your bike. They also sell bikes that they've fixed up, and it's all volunteer run. They do have a board, but anybody can go over and use their tools. They can get the expert advice from all of the volunteers. They have different nights for different types of people. Like they have one specifically for women and queer folks to go and work in their space, in their safe space. And you can pretty much go over any time that it's open. I'm not sure what their COVID rules are right now, but on their website, they should have them listed, or you can call them and find out what they are. But it's right next door also to Construction Junction, which is a little bit easier to find, I think. So if you see Construction Junction's signage, you know that you have found the right place. And it's also located, the name of it is Free Ride, and it's also located on a bike lane. So if you are biking over to fix something, you can get there safely on a bike.
Yes, so to answer your question about CMU, we don't have anything specifically like the Bike Cave, but the Bike Cave is pretty close to CMU campus. So that's a good resource. Free Ride is another excellent resource, and that's probably more of a bus ride away if you don't already have a bike. But it's an excellent place to learn how to fix your bike, get advice, get parts. Cranix is another good shop. I don't think they necessarily lend out tools anymore, but they do offer advice. They have a lot of parts to fix older bikes. So it's not just focused on new stuff. And they're very friendly, knowledgeable. That's located in, I guess that's Garfield, Cranix, yeah. Bloomfield, Garfield area.
Great. And Chatham has their Bike Works. I'm not sure what their COVID hours are or exactly where it is located on their campus here in the Oakland-ish area, but they do have a place that's similar to the Bike Cave to go and fix your bike up as well. Lots of resources for students.
Yeah, definitely a lot of great ways to get started biking without paying a whole bunch of money. And another great one is Healthy Ride. And Aaron, I saw that free ride day or bike to work day was on Tuesday. How did that go? And do you have any tips to share for folks who are interested to start using Healthy Ride, or maybe folks who are at Pitt who signed up but haven't taken a ride yet? What's like a great way to start your Healthy Ride journey?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, free ride day on Tuesday was the adapted bike to work day, which is normally in May, but this year was delayed due to COVID and kind of was adapted into a bike to anywhere day. But Healthy Ride is always free for bike to work day. So it was a system-wide free ride day for us. We do those, a couple times a year. I believe we'll have another one coming up in November. So if you're interested in learning more about those, you can always sign up for our newsletter on our website. And then our newsletter goes out to all of our registered users as well. So if you have a Healthy Ride account, plug in your email and you'll get all of the news and updates on there. And that's really the best way to get started with Healthy Ride. I would say going to our website, we have a lot of helpful instructional videos in our how-to section on everything from setting up an account to how to lock up your bike when you're done with it, to how to unlock it, all that fun stuff. So definitely checking out our how-to page. But setting up an account is pretty easy. I like using our mobile app whenever I use the system. It's called Next Bike, all one word, all lowercase. And you can log in, you can create an account there. And then once you're done creating an account, just log in. You can see where all the stations are. It'll tell you how many bikes are at a particular station at any given time. So that way, if a station does empty out, you don't make the crawl over there just to have to crawl to another station. But yeah, creating that account is that first step. And that way, whenever you walk up to a station, you're already ready to ride. You only have to create the account once. So that's kind of step one for getting started with Healthy Ride.
Thank you. So Aaron's question is, what advice would you give someone who hasn't biked in a city setting before but wants to try a recreational ride through Healthy Ride?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you haven't biked in the city before, one of the best resources that I tend to send people to is over to the Bike Pittsburgh page. Bike Pittsburgh has done like a really wonderful collection of like easy to understand videos on, you know, where you're supposed to be riding when you're on the road, how to properly fit your helmet to make sure it's a good helmet for you to be wearing, hand signals, you know, like how to signal your turning and good communication skills. We have some materials on our website as well, but I just think Bike Pittsburgh has done like a really awesome job in making these like fun interactive videos that are easy to consume and really fun to watch. So definitely head over there. And then a good idea for a recreational ride, you know, again, we have like a lot of ride recommendations on our website or blog. And then we also have that Ride Spot app where it's a really easy to follow that gives you audible turn-by-turn directions. It shows you a good map. And all of the ride routes that we create are geared towards newer riders. You know, they're not going to be 40-mile, you know, hauls of hills and things like that. We really try to cater to getting people out there maybe for the first time that it's been a while since they've been on a bike or they're a little intimidated. So they're typically designed around good infrastructure and trails and bike lanes and slow speed streets as well. But whenever we create a ride, we go to the Bike Pittsburgh bike map. And I know those are available at the Pitt Bike Cave and also at any bike shop around town. And they can just kind of help when you're sitting down to figure out, okay, I want to get from here to here. What are my best biking routes? What are my options? Maybe a street you never even heard of has a bike lane on it and it's running parallel to a really high traffic street that you've never even thought to look off of that street for good bike infrastructure. So I would definitely go over there.
Great, thank you. So another question is, if you have a PAT Connect card, a Port Authority Connect card, do you still need to set up an account?
Yes, so you have to link your accounts together. And once you have your Connect card, have it on hand, you can either go to a station, and when you wake that station up, it'll easily prompt you through the steps of linking your Connect card to your account. But we also created kind of a touch-free Connect card linking in times of COVID. And you can go over to Healthy Ride's website to figure out how to add those numbers to your account as well. So it does require that you link your Connect card to a Healthy Ride account. And there's no like monetary exchange there. So it's not like you can use money that you have on your Connect card for Healthy Ride. It's really just kind of confirming that you have that Connect card and that Connect card gets you the benefit. So yeah, set up an account, a Healthy Ride account, and then you can link your Connect card online via our customer service or at a station.
I just wanted to mention on the routes on Bike Pittsburgh's maps, if you actually look very closely on our map, we label hills as steep or very steep. And so you can also not only see like what roads have bike lanes or like the type of bike infrastructure, but you can also see if a hill is going to be steep or very steep. And I think that they are pretty accurate as far as like what the general population would consider to be like a steep or a very steep hill. And I also think it's pretty hard to avoid any hills while trying to get around Pittsburgh. But if you are just in the Oakland and CMU kind of area, it is pretty flat, like just going back and forth between the two campuses with, you know, obviously slight inclines closer to like Phipps Conservatory, or if you're going up like Cardiac Hill or something. But generally, like just going down Fifth or Forbes area with those bike lanes and stuff, it is pretty flat. And even going over into like the Shady Side neighborhood or like out into the East End. But there is slight hills like dropping down to the trails and stuff. But if you are worried about that, if you look on the map, the the hill steepness is labeled, which I think is kind of a fun feature. And another reason to pick up one of our bike maps. Because those
That's
are not always.
great. Actually, I think this might be a good opportunity to pull up the map and show people where it's at.
Sure.
Everybody see that?
Mhm.
Yeah. So are the hills marked on both the, because there's two versions of the maps. I mean, there's the hard copy one, which is in, I guess, a PDF, but then there's also this sort of more interactive GIS one.
Uh-huh. I know it's 100% for sure on the hard copy. I don't know if they had the ability to label it on that interactive one, but yeah, it's definitely on there. There's like little chevrons kind of that like show if it's a steep or a very steep. If you go down to the legend, it'll
Like
show you.
here?
Yes, yeah, exactly. And another cool feature of the bike map, which we try to do things on the bike map that you couldn't get on, say, like Google Maps or something, because it's like gives people a reason to pick up a paper copy of something, even though like the most useful might be like just using something on your phone, is that we label where there are sidewalks on bridges that are bike friendly. So going down to like the downtown area, or even like in the south side, you can see like right there is Hot Metal Street Bridge, and that was a trail, and it parallels like a road. And then you can also see like there, like right where your cursor is, like the road might be a little bit dangerous to bike on if you're a new cyclist to riding on the road. But as you can see here, like the blue dots on the side of the road indicate that it's totally, or not totally safe, but it is more comfortable to bike on the sidewalk there or on the side path, or even that it might be a bike lane, depending on like which bridge or like which area you are looking at. So that's just kind of fun. Like check out the legend when you're looking at these bike maps, and really like dial in to see like what you'll probably be the most comfortable riding on. And the streets that don't have anything labeled, like the gray ones, are probably just neighborhood streets, and they're not going to be as major a thoroughfare as the streets that we've chosen to label. So they probably will be lower trafficked in general. So if you do like happen to get off of a blue or like a peach or a light blue street, or off of like a brown trail, and you go onto those gray streets, they're probably just going to be like kind of like cut throughs through a neighborhood or something. So don't be afraid to take those gray streets. Like if there's a detour or something, you should be safe to try them out. And if you don't feel safe, you can always just get off your bike and walk.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks. Anything else about the map you want to call out? I don't know if it's got both Pitt's campus, Carnegie Mellon, Chatham's marked here, grocery stores and shops.
I will say that the bike map, if you haven't downloaded the Healthy Ride app yet, it'll show you where the Healthy Ride stations are and like where the closest ones are. And like sometimes, it's hard to like pull up your phone and bike at the same time, or like pull over on the side of the road, and it's easier to just pull out the map and see where you are and like find that closest station. And if you haven't downloaded the app but you want to start and you're looking for that closest location, like a good place to start is with this map. So like just pulling it out and finding that spot that's like close to where you are, and then finding those Healthy Ride locations on there. So it's one of the, besides the app, it's one of the best places to find the Healthy Ride station locations.
Do you know when the next version of the map is being released?
Yeah, it is going to be released. It should be released by the end of this year. So I believe there'll be sort of a soft launch before the end of the year, and then into next year will be more of like an official launch where we'll start distributing a newer version of the bike map to like bike shops and anybody that's ordered them from us. So like if you are interested in getting like a bulk order, you can contact Bike Pittsburgh and we'll help set that up.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we do new bike maps about every 2 years, just because there is so much changing on the streets and there's a lot of new infrastructure coming. We like to keep it fresh for riders.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, looking at Oakland even, there are bike lanes now on Forbes, thankfully, which are so great to use, at least portions of Forbes. So it'd be nice to
Yeah,
have
it's the
those.
first time ever that students have been able to bike from campus, from CMU to Pitt in a bike lane without having to worry about traffic. So that is a huge upgrade and makes it way safer for students to get back and forth if they're choosing to ride a bike.
Totally. I think while we're here, maybe we want to check out some of the videos that Aaron mentioned earlier, just to show folks where they are. So, I mean, all the resources here are really fantastic. I mean, the maps, guides, the routes. Where are I think they're here, right? Educational videos. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the educational videos, they pretty much go over any of the like 101 kind of topics or things that we anticipate people asking a lot of questions because it's like new infrastructure or a new type of street design or something that is coming to the city. It might not necessarily be new to like the world or even to the state, but it's definitely new to Pittsburgh, and it's something that we want to give people some educational tips on how to use. And it even goes into some things that aren't infrastructure related, like how to wear a helmet, how to bike on a trail. We have some fun ones about like just how to cross railroad tracks, like how to carry groceries on your bike. We just have a lot of different videos on basically how to be a good cyclist in the city. And we're always creating new ones too. And we're open for ideas and suggestions because we like to make our videos and our material as user-friendly and as current as possible. So check out these videos, but if there's something in here that you would like to see happen, you can always send us an email or give us a call and we'll try to create a video on the thing that you are interested in.
It's great. I wish I watched the railroad video before I crossed the railroad and fell on it. It would have been nice.
I have fallen on railroad tracks too, unfortunately. They are slippery, or if you're from Pittsburgh, they are slippy. And and they should be crossed at a 90-degree angle, which means just a right angle. So like instead of, if you are hitting the railroad tracks like in the same direction that they're going, you might find it harder to, or more easy to slip on them because your tire just isn't crossing them at an easy angle to like just roll right over. So we do have, videos explaining some more technical stuff like that. And there are a lot of railroad tracks down in the Strip District that if you're visiting that area, you might be going back and forth across them, or even at the bottom of Junction Hollow, which is how you get to the trails from the universities. And so if you are trying to get around, there are some railroad tracks right in your area that you might come across, literally come across.
Yeah, the Strip District, those are the ones that got me. Oh, terrible, terrible. I still have a scar from that. I wear it proudly though.
Yeah, it is a badge of honor. You've made it across railroad tracks.
Well, almost made it across railroad tracks. You learned your lesson about railroad tracks. Yeah. What are some other resources that are online that folks maybe want to call out or give a shout out to? Well,
I would call out like our advocacy page. So I'm not sure like if there's students here who feel frustrated maybe about the bike infrastructure that they're encountering while they're living in Pittsburgh, but on our advocacy page, it talks a little bit more about like how you can get involved locally with making streets or sidewalks safer to bike or walk on. And it just kind of helps people navigate how the city is set up and how to like make requests to fix things that are in the public right of way. So like using the Pittsburgh's 311 system, which is literally, you can like, the easiest way I think to use it is just tweeting at PGH 311. Or you can call 311 to like make complaints. We also in here have like some different toolkits if you're interested in becoming more involved in like neighborhood level advocacy, or just finding out about like, you know, registering to vote or doing things like that. And so on the advocacy side of stuff, we have a lot of resources in here. In our advocacy basics, we have some videos about advocacy things, policy change, like you can learn about like the different statewide policy that's going on around biking and walking. And it just shows you how to really like delve into the world of advocacy, especially biking and walking advocacy. And we have links to a lot of different resources, but clicking on that, it's definitely like a lot of in-depth stuff around this topic for people to really look into.
There's also, I know a lot of students in particular just don't have time to get into heavy duty advocacy, but there are opportunities to just do things like sign a quick petition, or, you know, tweeting at 311, like you said, just something really simple and quick to do in support of a particular advocacy push. Or,
Right.
you know, for instance, there was something about making sure the legislature voted on whether parking protected bike lanes could happen.
Mm-hmm.
Other things like that, where you don't have to necessarily put in a lot of time, just like a quick effort.
Yeah, and the best way to stay up on that is to sign up for our newsletter. And we always include like our blog posts and things that do have like those call outs. So if you want to just, you know, stay aware of the things that are happening in the bike world, especially in Pittsburgh, you can just subscribe to the Bike Pittsburgh newsletter, and you could also become a member if you want. And students, we do have a barter membership, which is nice because if you just volunteer with us for 10 hours, you can get a free membership.
That's great. So if you are maybe a new cyclist or looking to get involved on campuses, Karen, what's going on at CMU in terms of like community building and sort of group rides?
So we have the Bike Advisory Committee is sort of our central place for advocacy on campus. And it started with grad students who are most often the ones that are concerned with biking because they, you know, often live off campus and want a safe way to transport themselves. We have meetings about once a month. Even if we don't have meetings, which lately of course are virtual, but even if we don't have meetings, we sometimes have calls to action or info about things going on that affects the CMU community. We also have, and you know what, I dropped a link into that mailing list in we're building a list of links that are helpful for each session. We also have a mailing list that we call the Bike Curious mailing list. And that's just info about events such as this one, opportunities. We haven't had too many group rides lately, but I think we can figure out how to do like, we have we'll talk later today about some routes around campus that were created specifically for newer riders. So even if you don't ride in a group, you can find places to ride near campus that are good for beginners. All kinds of resources like that. And so basically the Bike Curious is like for people that just want to participate. Bike Advisory Committee is sort of like our advocacy arm. And if you have a specific complaint or suggestion, you don't necessarily have to show up to meeting. You can email us or just post it to the list and see if it's been addressed before, and if not, even if it has, what's going on with things. Probably one of the most common questions we get is about bike parking. Why isn't there more parking in front of building X? The CMU campus, well, I mean, Pitt faces this too, but it's pretty compact. We don't have a whole lot of space. And especially lately, there's been a ton of construction. So there's been constant movement of bike racks. But, you know, we do our best. And in fact, to get ready for students coming back to campus in pandemic times, we just went around and looked at places we could put extra racks, because anticipating that more students are going to want to bike to campus. But yeah, we're kind of always available to answer questions. We do normally do some tabling events. This is sort of, this is meant to replace that to a certain extent, but we'll be connecting with other groups such as the Grad Student Assembly. We're going to participate in the round 2 of the virtual fair, and any other opportunities we can to just connect to people. I could share a link, Nick, if you want to put it on your screen, or I could put it on my screen, whichever is easier. We do have a page that's on environment at CMU. There's a page about transportation that heavily features biking. And that shows, there we go. Yeah. That shows some resources, in particular about halfway down that green box, map of campus bike rack locations. That's pretty handy. It's a Google-based map that shows you how many spots are available outside each building. This has not been updated since we added some spots, but it's a pretty decent representation. And if you go back to that page, there's also right below that easy bike loops near CMU. We'll talk about those a little later in our CMU specific session. But that's like some good routes around and through campus that are trying to minimize the elevation change, less than 2 miles. We also have a list of local bike shops, and I believe the how to buy a bike. Oh, sorry. Yeah, there we go. If you want to show that. Main campus is just right above the green area, right above Shenley Park. And those loops are kind of like around, heavily featuring Shenley Park because it's a nice, easy place to ride. If you go back to the page, please. Yeah, there's a list of local bike shops. There's how to buy a bike, which I believe is a link to Bike Pittsburgh's site. There's also information about shuttle services. The parking and transportation website has info about taking buses, shuttles, all that kind of stuff. We are working on a page specifically just all about bikes with even more info. So that hopefully will be up soon. And let's see, I think that's about all I have right now. But yeah, we're always there to answer questions, and the community is really friendly. Oftentimes you can find someone that maybe can even, like, if you're worried about how to, like a route, for example, you can find someone who lives near you who can tell you how they go by bike to campus or to other destinations. You can find lots of people willing to give advice anytime that you need it, not just with these tabling events. So yeah.
Okay, well, while we're on the internet, I'm going to have to show off the Pitt biking website.
Yeah.
We've been updating it this year. It has a lot of the same features. So there's information on here. There's a bike safety video that some students put together, some stats about biking on our campus. You know, we have 1,100 bike racks, a lot of bike racks, or spaces for bike racks. We also have information on how to register your bike, and I really encourage everybody to register at Pitt. We partner with Bike Index, which is a national nonprofit that manages bike registration. And so you just need your serial number, which is usually sort of underneath your bike. There's instructions on how to find it on their website. Registering your bike is required if you want to rent any of our indoor secure locker locations, but it's also just a good thing in case, you know, your bike is lost or stolen. You're more likely to recover your bike if it's been registered. The Pitt Police and our Parking Transportation and Services Office work with Bike Index anytime there are any reports of a lost or stolen bike. We also have our bike map, which lists, similar to CMU's, all of the locations where we have bike racks. It lists our fix-it stations, as well as our lockers and our bike rooms. So as I mentioned, we have space for 1,100 bikes on campus, and all of those racks are listed here as well. As well as some information on Healthy Ride, the Healthy Ride at Pitt program. If you're interested in using Healthy Ride system, this is where you can find some information on using the Healthy Ride at Pitt program. So I don't know, Anna or Karen or Aaron, what are some common questions that you get from new cyclists or new bikers, people who are interested in getting started biking?
Before we jump into that, I forgot to mention, I just wanted to mention really quickly for anybody who speaks or would like to have a translation of our Biking 101 guide in either Russian, Chinese, Spanish, and we're working on Arabic. You can get translations of all of these Biking 101 guides on our website in those languages. Unfortunately, I don't really speak any of those languages to say that in those languages, but you can download those on our website and read them to learn about like how to get into biking and bike safety for biking in the city. So yeah, and it's unlimited download, so you can download it as many times as you'd like. So I just wanted to say that because I know that there are a lot of international students, and we do have a pretty high international population in the city in general. So that is a great resource on our website that we have. But one of the most common questions, oh, go ahead, Karen.
Oh, sorry. That biking guide is really handy. For anyone that's new to Pittsburgh in particular, new to the US, new to biking, it's got really good advice on a lot of the things that we've touched on this week. Usually if someone asks for a bike map, I also hand them this guide because they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, definitely. Would someone else like to start the question on most common questions?
I can chime in here. One of the most common questions that we get, and I think this is because a lot of our riders are not necessarily already people who are biking on the road or have a whole lot of experience with that. And I think it would be fun to frame it to the group. That question being, what is the thing that you do to keep yourself safe that you think is like that one thing that you do when you're going out on the road to make yourself like a safe rider?
That's a really good question. Go ahead, Anna.
The thing that makes me feel the safest, which might be a controversial topic, is taking the lane, which means to bike in the most visible part of the street for people who are driving behind you to see you. So it usually means biking in the middle of a lane and just taking up the whole space, because that makes me feel safe, even though it might agitate a driver. It makes me feel safe because I know that the driver can see me. Often there are super narrow roads in Pittsburgh, and it wouldn't be safe for a car to pass unless they went into another lane. And so biking in the middle of the lane, also known as like taking the lane, is something that I do a lot that makes me feel safe. And I also, over the years that I've been commuting and biking on city streets, I've noticed that drivers do tend to behave differently if I'm biking in the middle of the lane versus as far over to like the parked cars or to a curb as possible. I definitely notice their behavior towards me feels safer, and I feel safer if I do that. Although it is intimidating sometimes, it does make me feel safer.
Yeah, go to double on that. That's one of the things that Anna and I teach a lot in Confident City cycling classes. And to make people feel safer, I would say just in general, find out about the, we're not doing those classes in person now, but we're making as many resources available as we can. Like some of the videos that on Bike Pittsburgh's website, that Urban Biking 101 guide touches on a lot of those topics. But just getting as much advice as you can about how to act as a cyclist. And to sum it up real quickly, act like a car when you can. And when speeds are too quick and it feels too intimidating, you can switch to acting like a pedestrian or find an alternate route that's less intimidating. Again, that's where the bike map comes in. But taking the lane, but then also things like signaling, using lights and reflective clothing to make yourself visible. In general, not hiding, but being out and open and acting like a vehicle that owns the road, which a cyclist is.
Yeah, I would definitely say those alternate routes. When I first started, I would like bike down 5th to get to class. And that was like kind of a nightmare until a friend like nudged me and was like, you can take this one street that's just one block up and it's much calmer and it has a bike lane. And finding those alternate ways around the city where you're not on a main road, it's much more enjoyable. You get to see a neighborhood you maybe haven't seen before and experience it in a different viewpoint, and you don't feel like you have a bunch of buses and trucks behind you.
Yeah, definitely. I think you hit on the ones that I tend to share too, that knowing your route before you ride. I know if you're new to this city, that can be a little bit more challenging because you're not necessarily as familiar with the roads that you're going to be traveling on. But my number one, and it's something that's super easy when I'm on a Healthy Ride bike because they have lights on them, but I wear tons of black all the time. My helmet is black. My bag is black. Like, I don't know what's wrong with me. But that visibility, I always carry extra bike lights. They've got some like great reflective wear that's like a sticker that you can put on your bag. Because yeah, thinking about like how people are going to see you and that visibility that Karen was talking about was huge. Alex, did you have any recommendations?
So my recommendations are kind of counterintuitive. So I try to be very conscious of like everything that's going around me. And then I'm also kind of aggressive in when I'm biking. So even if I'm biking through like a bike lane or along the streets or even on a path, I try to do everything that I normally would if I was in a car, but I also try to like not assume that somebody's going to see me and not assume that somebody's going to stop for me. So I always try to be fairly aggressive with what I'm doing, and it seems to have worked out so far.
So back on the topic of common questions, the one that I get probably most often is, can I bike through the winter in Pittsburgh? I guess somehow we've got a reputation of having nasty winters, even though it hasn't happened in a while. But yeah, and the answer is yes. I like to point out, I mean, I ride for transportation all through the winter. It's a matter of being prepared and not necessarily with expensive equipment. You can outfit yourself from Goodwill, from eBay. We had a session about outfitting your bike for a commute earlier this week that touched on those points. I most likely will do a session. I do this every fall for the CMU community at least, and we'll I don't know, Nick, we'll talk about opening it up to everybody, about how to dress and prepare your bike for winter. And there's some tips and tricks you can do to make it not that bad. And honestly, what I tell people is I would rather go out my door, get on my bike and go than walk to a bus stop and stand there, because I'll be definitely colder standing there.
Yeah, I myself often take, and I've heard this a lot from other riders too, will actually wind up using Healthy Ride a lot more in the winter than my own personal bike because they've got good fenders, and I also don't care about all of that like salt and grit. I don't really want that stuff as much on my bike, but Healthy Ride is a nice alternative when you don't want to beat up your own bike with winter slush. But yeah, I feel like it hasn't been that bad these last few winters, but layering up is probably my biggest tip. Not doing the, put on so much clothing that you're just so uncomfortable as soon as you start to move and get really hot. So definitely having layers that you can easily kind of like peel off if you are getting a little warm while you're riding around.
All right, I'll put a call out to anybody watching. If you have questions, write them in the comments. We have folks checking out the comments on Facebook. So if you have any questions about starting a bike commute or questions about routes, how Healthy Ride works, Pitt or CMU amenities, let us know in the comments and we'll do our best to answer them. Again, we're here with CMU, Bike Pittsburgh, Healthy Ride, and the Bike Cave.
There is one common question that I get, and probably a lot of you get as well, once people find out that you're a bike person. Where do I get a bike? / what is a good bike for me? That question has gotten really complicated lately because there's a bike shortage due to the pandemic. Everyone suddenly wants to ride a bike, which is awesome, except for the supply of bicycles. And I follow some industry publications and stuff like that, and they're saying that it's going to be till probably spring, summer next year before the supply is back up to normal. So that's the bad news. The good news is there's still places to go. There's still some used bikes floating around. There will be some certain types of new bikes coming back. Bunch of people are finding, they've got bikes in their basement. Bike Pittsburgh actually has a service now called Bike Match. And Anna, I don't know if you want to say more about that real quickly.
Yeah, our Bike Match program is for anybody who is in need of a bike to get a bike for free, or if you have a bike that you're not using that's sitting around your house and you're willing to donate it for free, we pair people by their size to a bike that's been donated. So it's kind of finding a match for a person that needs a bike with someone who's willing to give up their bike. And so I'm not sure how many matches we've done so far, but we've done quite a few. And a lot of the people who are requesting bikes right now are people who are essential workers. So a lot of them are starting to bike commute for work and try it out. And there's also just a lot of people who are in need of a bike to like just get around, or they would like to start biking. And so we're just pairing people up locally who are in need of a bike. It's called the Bike Match. You can find it online or email myself or somebody else at Bike Pittsburgh, and we'll get you connected. But on that topic, I was going to say, I am a bike. My favorite number of bikes to own is N+1. I myself own like 2 bikes that work. But the best bike to have is the bike that you own already, like try to get it fixed up. And, the first long ride that I did was about 5 years ago, and I biked to DC on my, Walmart Schwinn bike that I had since I was like 12 years old, and I made it all the way down there. So you don't have to have like some fancy, super expensive bike to get out there and ride. It's really just finding a bike that fits you and that you like to ride. There's so many bikes out there that, as many personality types as there are, and as many people, out there that want to try biking, there is a bike for you. So if you have a bike that you don't like, that doesn't mean that you don't like to bike. It might mean that you just have the wrong bike. And I like to check Craigslist all the time because I just like to look at bikes and find bikes. So like when you're looking at bikes on Craigslist, which is probably where most people are looking for like cheaper bikes, or even like Facebook Marketplace, you know, just make sure that you take it for a test ride, because oftentimes people who are selling bikes might not know what they have even. And so no matter what you do, making sure that you are taking a test ride on that bike to really get a feel for how it's working for you and like the parts and stuff. And you can always take it to a bike shop later to get it tuned up. But if you at least feel that like standing over it or sitting on the seat and like putting your hands out to feel how far the handlebar is, you can always make little adjustments, but as long as like the basic bike fits you, you can always get it fixed up. But basic things to look for are maybe like rust on a bike, or I'm trying to think, like just if it's uncomfortable to stand over the bike and like sit on the seat and reach the handlebars, like you'll know immediately if it feels uncomfortable or something, because you can always move the seat up or down. You can even move the Healthy Ride seats up and down, you know, to make them more comfortable for you as you ride. And you can pretty much customize bikes to like for their handlebars or anything, but you can always make a bike bigger, but you can't make a bike smaller. So if you are between a couple of bikes or something, you know, bike sizes generally go in centimeters for the frame. And so when you're looking at bikes, if it's a little bit too small for you, it's easier to get things to make it a little bit bigger, but you can never make a bike frame smaller than it already is. So that's kind of like what I usually tell people when they're trying to buy a bike. Buy something that's made, if you have to, buy something slightly small that you can get bigger.
We had a good session on that earlier this week too. That's recorded. That's on the Bike Pittsburgh website, right? Is that what it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Alex, do you have any advice on buying a bike, or anything you want to share? You know, in your experience as selling used bikes and repairing used bikes, any thoughts on buying a used bike?
The only thing I can really say is you kind of want, like, so you want the bike to fit you, and like you guys said, you can adjust it based on seat height and kind of like handlebar position and stuff like that. But then you also want to be able to kind of know what type of riding you're going to be doing mainly. So if you're going to be commuting a lot and riding along the streets and most of the paved pathways, then you can get a road bike or a hybrid bike and not really have to worry too much about like mountain bikes or shocks or tire treads and things like that. But then whenever you get into like, well, I want to go to Ford Park or Shenley Park and go through some of the trails, or maybe I want to go on some of the rougher like gravel streets and things like that, then maybe you should look into maybe a sturdier mountain bike, something with shocks, or just something with tires that have a lot more tread. And with buying, so with buying a used bike, just kind of make sure everything works and make sure you can ride it before you commit to buying it as well, which is kind of difficult to do if you're going through Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist. But just know that at any time when you, like, say you go to meet somebody to buy a bike at Craigslist, then you can go and still ride it around and make sure that it feels comfortable to you before you say, okay, well, here's X amount of dollars, and then you take it home. You realize, oh, I can't even sit on this thing, or this thing won't pedal. So.
All right, I'll put another call out for questions. If you have any questions about biking, about our campuses, about Healthy Ride, about the Bike Cave, post them in the Facebook comments. This afternoon at 2 o'clock, we have a session about biking around Pitt, where myself and Taylor from the Bike Cave will go into more detail about all the amenities at Pitt. Then at 3 o'clock, Karen and Mary at CMU will explore CMU's bike amenities and routes to, from, and around campus. Tomorrow we have 3 sessions. The first is at 10 o'clock, and that's about planning a route. So Anna is going to share some tips on planning route, which we've all sort of mentioned is really essential if you're starting to bike, because you don't want to end up in on a street you're not comfortable biking on. At 1 o'clock, we're going to be joined by Friends of the Riverfront and Golden Triangle Bike Rental. Yeah. They're going to do a session about accessing the trails. So again, if you're a new rider, not super comfortable biking on city streets, we have 24 miles of riverfront trails, great amenities, and it can take you to a lot of great places. I mean, it's the easiest way to get from Oakland to downtown is to take the trail. And so they're going to review some of the trails that are around here and how to actually get to them. That's a question I get often, is how do we actually get to the trails? And then finally in the afternoon, Robin Woods from Black Girls Do Bike is going to return. She and Karen are going to go over group rides. What are they? How do you join them? And some best practices for them. And as I said before, everything will be recorded and available on Bike Pittsburgh's YouTube page so that you can watch it later or share it with anybody who, is new to riding and you think might benefit from learning about how to buy a bike or how to get a bike ready for a commute.
Mm-hmm. My final thought on all of this is that if you are scared about starting to bike or like just getting out there and trying it, I think Pittsburgh has one of the friendliest bike communities of most cities that I've been to and tried biking in. And so even just like asking someone if you see them biking and asking them about it, they'll probably be willing to talk to you, or like just calling a bike shop if you aren't really ready to be in a crowd or go into a store yet, just calling them and asking them for things, or emailing or contacting any of us here today. We love biking. We love helping people get on a bike and start biking. And we are just thrilled to really see new riders out there. And we love it when we see students, especially riding around our campuses and using all of the wonderful amenities that all of the campuses have and offer for students and faculty and staff. And so we are super thrilled to welcome anybody who's new to riding or returning to riding or anything like that onto bikes and celebrating biking.
Yes, ditto. Well said.
Yeah, I'll second that. I mean, I started riding because my friend said, I will ride with you and I'll show you how to get around. And that was huge. I think without having a friend to show me, even for the day, how to get around and how to feel comfortable, I don't know if I would have been so comfortable riding. So if you are that friend that, is an experienced cyclist, want to put the offer out to people that you'll bike with them for a little bit, or if you know somebody who is a cyclist, definitely reach out to them. All right, well, I think that may conclude our virtual tabling session. If you have any other comments, you can put them in the comments of the video. I'll be checking them out for next few days, so we can answer some, maybe not as quickly as we could if this was live. You have something to say, Karen? Oh, no, okay. Well, thanks for joining us. Thanks so much, Aaron and Alex, for joining us. We really appreciate it, and see you all soon.
Thanks, everybody.